Hi all, and welcome back to our channel. I've always secretly wanted to say that, and now I finally got the opportunity to do so. So you probably don't know me or probably have not seen me yet, and that's very possible. My name is Monique, and actually I manage the social media and content at Supercilium. So today we decided to do something very fun and very different because the entire world is currently going through a very strange and uncertain period. Besides everything else like finances and jobs and either being alone or dealing with this with your family, without your family, with a partner, without a partner, it's also affecting all of us ladies in a very bad way when it comes to lashes and brows and hair and nails. I'm not even going to show you my nails on camera because they're quite embarrassing. I actually can't wait till I get to put these gloves on. So what we are going to be doing today though is showing you a different way of tinting and dyeing your eyebrows. Actually not using henna, which is what we're known for, but using a different company that we're going to start working with. So the company I'm talking about is Christian Faye. This is actually the dye right here. I'm going to show you step by step how to do this yourself at home. Because we don't know how long we're going to be on lockdown and we have no idea when you're going to be able to see your brow artist next, what we did want to do is give you an opportunity to fix up your brows yourself. Because in the meantime, you don't want to be looking like a grizzly bear. So when this whole weird situation is finally over and you go back to your brow artist, your brows won't be in the best tip-top shape that you want them to be in, but at least they'll be semi-decent and it'll give you something to do in these very long days. So I'm going to go over everything step by step, and just a disclaimer before we get started, I am in no way, shape, or form a licensed brow artist, esthetician, etc., etc. I am just somebody who loves makeup and brows. You will never catch me leaving the house without them. So anybody can really do this, and beauticians can also show their clients how to do this, which is why we thought it would be a great opportunity to do a video on it. So without further ado, let's all get comfortable and you guys can enjoy this step by step. I guess we can call it booze and brows. So let's get started. All right, so before we actually get started with the treatment, I wanted to go over the things that you will find inside of each box so that we kind of just go over it and you're aware. Today, I'm going to be using the brown color, so I think that that'll match up pretty nicely with my eyebrows. I think I could have probably gone with the black and left it on for a shorter period of time, but I think I'll just go with the brown and let it develop as much as I feel necessary. So when you open the box, of course, you're going to get the manual. Although I'm going to be showing you step by step how to do everything, I do recommend that you read over the manual. Besides that, you're going to find this handy little brow brush. So one side is bristles and then the other side is kind of like a comb. You can use it to brush out your brows before or after. You'll also find the developer, obviously, so you can mix that with the dye itself. You'll find in the package the color dye. And you'll also find these like eye pads. Sorry, probably looks like a bit bright. These like small shaped iPads, and I do think this actually would be much more helpful for lash tinting, which you can also do with these dyes, but we're going to be just going over the brow dyes, and I don't know if I'm actually going to be needing these for my brows. They might be a little bit too small for my shape, but we'll see as we go along. Other than that, you don't really, they do also include a pair of disposable gloves, but I actually have my own. I prefer these. I think that they're a little bit less loose. They're more tight on the skin so that it's easier to kind of have more control. And the things that they don't include that you do need are a bunch of Q-tips. I'm only showing you like 3, but I think you should have 300 on standby. They also recommend that you have some Vaseline so that you can rub that around your brow area before you get started so that the brow doesn't, not the brow, but the dye doesn't bleed over into that skin area. But I actually just ran out of my Vaseline, so instead what I'm going to be using is this Mario Badescu lip balm. It's a rose lip balm and it's extremely greasy. So I think that that'll be just as fine. It's totally fine replacement. I also forgot to mention that there is this little mixing bowl that comes with it. And just have a little cup of water nearby as well as some cotton pads so that you can wipe the brow dye off. Just on a side note, they give you the little comb to use with the dye, but I actually prefer using our own Supercilium angle brush. This is my holy grail for all brow treatments and brow products, so I'm actually going to be using that as an applicator instead, because I do think that it gives you much better control of the dye, and you can do more realistic hair-like strokes. So without further ado, I think we can get started. All right, so now that we've got our gloves on and we're gonna take a sip of wine, we can get started with the first step, which is just to prep our brows. So what I like to do, first and foremost, I kind of like to brush them out just so we can really see what we're working with. Unfortunately, this is my brows. These are my brows with no product on. There are a few patchy spots, which I am aware of. So just keep in mind that where you don't have hair growing, it's going to be a lot harder for the dye to take. So what I'm going to do is just take a bit of this balm, and I'm just going to prep this outer area here. So everywhere I don't want that dye to bleed over into. So just careful not to smear it on the parts that actually have your eyebrow hairs, because then that will affect obviously the dye from developing there. So it acts kind of like a shield. Again, if you have Vaseline, that's even better, but because I just ran out, I'm just using this very greasy lip balm instead. So I think this is just fine. This will do. And once that's done, basically, I've already kind of put the dye into the container just so you can see approximately how much I've used. It's literally like just one little push. It's like less than a dime size amount. That will do your brows more than good. And then I'm just going to be taking this white developer bottle that comes inside of the package, and I'm just adding 4 to 5 drops is the proper consistency. You can mix it with the little brush that they gave you, maybe the back end, but I'm just gonna go in and mix with a Q-tip, ear swab, whatever you want to call it. So just keep in mind that this dye is very different from the henna that we sell. There is a different consistency to it. There's a different color that emerges out of it. And also the PBD levels are different. So the most important thing that I can tell you though, is it develops extremely quickly. So you have to move very quickly, which is why I actually opt for using our angle brush rather than the brush that comes with it, because it just gives you much more control. And what I'm doing is I'm just working very quickly and I'm applying it to the brow. I am working from the outer side of the brow, and I like to leave on the dye on the inner corners of my brow for much less time, because I like it to be lighter to darker, kind of more of like a natural ombre. So I'm just, my hair is in the way. It's so hard being fabulous. Here, I'm gonna quickly go in and actually clean up this area. You can do this around the entire brow. So just be sure to carve it out exactly how you want it. Don't forget that there's that Vaseline or balm there. So it is protecting your skin. And I personally, the instructions say otherwise, but I like to leave my dye on for about 5 to 6 minutes. It takes me a bit longer than most for the color to develop, and I do have pretty dark brows, so I'm kind of okay with bold looking thick brows. So I'm just gonna leave all of this dye on there for about 5 minutes now. I'm also gonna go in and just clean up a little bit more. But otherwise, I think that they're good to go. So I will see you back here in 5 minutes after I wash them off. So see you then. And welcome back, guys. So I just actually took the dye off of my eyebrows. It was 5.5, about 6 minutes that I left it on. It does take my eyebrow hair typically longer to develop. That sounds really weird. I feel like we're talking about puberty, but yeah, it just takes dyes longer to develop on my skin usually, because I think it's something to do with like my oil chemistry or something. Just my skin is more oily in general. So this is what it looks like after the 5.5 minutes. Basically, I think it made a huge difference. My eyebrows definitely look much more bold, much more thick, and there's more of a defined shape. So basically now it's much easier to pencil them in, because as you can see, there's still those patchy areas that I told you about before. It's much harder for dye to take in those areas where there's not enough hair. So naturally, I knew that that was going to happen, but I'm still pretty happy with the overall result, and I think that my brows do look more defined and actually more or less invisible. So I think before they kind of looked non-existent, and now they're here and they're ready to play. So what I'm going to do now is take some concealer and take some eyebrow pencil and just fill in those blanks that are throughout the left side of my eyebrow, and we'll see what the final result is. So see you back here in 2 seconds. Back here. So basically I just outlined, I'm like becoming country. I outlined my brows with my favorite, just any basic concealer. Just so it has just a more crisp, clean cut look. And I'm just going in with one of my favorite basic eyebrow pencils by NYX, and just filling in kind of these, I don't want to say bald areas, but just slightly bald spots in my brows, just so it's a bit more refined and clean. And after we're done doing that, we're pretty much finished. We're like ready to wrap up. My favorite thing to do after I clean up the concealer is to finish off my brows super nice and strong with a nice clear eyebrow gel, because I think that it gives them a nice lifted look, and it basically just holds all your brow product and your newly dyed brows in place. So let me just finish this up really quickly, and I will meet you right back here after I apply the clear gel. So see you in a sec. So this is the final look. Basically, this is after the dye. This is after we've touched up and filled them in, added our concealer, and finally the clear eyebrow gel. So they are locked in place. Even if an apocalypse happens, at least I'll dye with nice brows. So I hope that this how-to was helpful, and we're also going to do a how-to PDF, which basically reflects everything that I just explained to you guys on our website. And these dyes will be available for purchase for $12.95. Keep in mind that you can repeat this treatment every 5 weeks or so. So it's a super great value, and your brows will be looking on fleek for the next 5 weeks. So stay tuned for much more content that we have coming up, and let us know what you think in the comments. Okay.